Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Stream live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis. I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation, and I'm joined this morning by my good friend and brother,
Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
We are grateful today that we have a guest that's going to talk to us about all of her wonderful life experiences and then this fabulous new book that she's brought to the public on purpose. And so we'll bring to the platform now Yvette Simpson. How are you today, my sister?
Good morning. I am letting that word y'all just put forth just wash over me. I feel like I'm already full. We're just getting started. That's what I love about the both of you. Just such amazing, inspirational men who not only do well, but are great people. So I'm just so honored to be here with both of you because you know how much I admire and respect both of you so much. And I miss you. We used to do a lot of work together and I miss you. So it's good to be back in community with you talking about this very important topic, which is my heart's work, is, you know, I think my mission for this season of my life.
That is awesome to find that, because I believe that we are our entire lives oftentimes in pursuit of what is my purpose.
That is the question.
Yeah,
that is the question. So I'm going to do a little.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, a little shameless plug in, then I'll put it down and then we'll talk. This is the book. Okay, everybody. There we go. Done. Now we can talk.
No, we're going to come back to that, because I think that it's one of the most important things for any human being to discover is what is their purpose. I have 4 children, and I'm grateful that God gave me the wisdom to recognize that my job. So for the first 18 years of their life, they ride our boats. Mm-hmm. And that we got to get on their boat, whatever that is. It oftentimes it's a rickety canoe. I mean, holes everywhere. And I'm just on that thing. Okay, wherever we going, I'm with you. You know, but I know that it's my responsibility to create a foundation and a runway for them to discover their purpose. I know my purpose. God put me on earth to reconcile people one to another and to ultimately reconcile people to God. And so that's what my purpose is. Tommy, what do you see as your purpose?
I see a number of things, Eric, one of which, and I don't want to go any further without saying this to our community. Our guest today, in my mind, is a dear friend of mine. She is a woman of integrity. She is a woman of deep joy that comes out. Although we know we don't bring our best selves every day, when I engage with Yvette, I see her, and it inspires me. I do. And I will also say,
and when she's on the stage with the big players, big ballers, she rises even above them because of the special gifts that God has put in her and the integrity that underlies all of those, that rich wisdom that she carries. And it's been an honor to watch that. Well, you've made us proud.
Very much so. Very much so. So I won't be speaking a lot today because I am a person in front of a celebrity. I'm excited about it, right? And so my purpose in my life is to become a celebrity. So it's always a joy to be able to tap into my why, God's gift to me, Eric, Yvette, and my purpose is fulfilled almost every day. Every day, my purpose as a business owner, my purpose as a husband, my purpose as a human being. I cannot and will not get away from my purpose. It drives me, it motivates me, it inspires me. And so I'm excited to hear what Yvette has to share with her book, her other businesses, and her lifelong experiences. I'm excited.
Right. And I'll say one other caveat, Yvette, before I have you introduce yourself. And that is, Tommy and I started doing this podcast 5 years ago. Neither of us had any idea that we'd be here 5 years later. We both know that we're very busy. We don't have time for this. I mean, there's no way we can meet on a weekly basis. And we have done that. And we've done that because it's been such a blessing to us first. And God shared with me an insight years ago where he almost said to me, Eric, it doesn't matter if you all have any viewers. That's not the case, but he said that doesn't matter because you are actually putting together your legacy and your story, and your children and your grandchildren will be able to look back on these episodes and see what you thought on many different topics. And they'll get a chance to be introduced to some of the great people that you knew. And so I'm grateful that you are on this episode, and that Tommy and our legacy, our children and their children will also get a chance to see and hear from you and all the great wisdom that you bring. So with that, I'll say I'd like you to introduce yourself. The girl from Lincoln Heights who was raised by your grandmother, the powerful lawyer, the ABC political contributor, the CEO of your own business that aids leaders in unlocking the power of their purpose, the highly sought after national motivational speaker with TED Talk credentials. Who is Yvette Simpson? And I want you to look at those as you walk us down your journey, and give pauses if Tommy and I look like we might have a question, but you can flow as well. I'd like you to think about those stops along the road, along your journey, and give us what was the greatest insight that you gained, or the most valuable thing that you were able to contribute in that space at that moment. So you get a sense of what impacted you in those stops along your journey.
Okay, well, one, let me just say the Mutual Admiration Club is here. Everything you said about me, I'll give it back to you. It is really an honor, and you know how much I respect both of you, and just to be in conversation with you, it's just such an honor to me. So I'm just going to say, that. And I knew this was going to be one of those things where gems was going to be dropping, love was going to be sharing. So we can just flow, right? It doesn't have to be, because I learn as much and get as much from you as you get from me. So let's do this together. And I think the people out there will benefit from all of our wisdom. I think is really important. So the most important thing is where you start. And so I did start in the 1-5. That's what they call it, Lincoln Heights. I was born in a village on a street named Love, and that was God's way of showing me that I had everything I needed, village and love. And that's my story, right? It all started with a group of people who didn't have much, but who had love for me and who cared for me. And that got me through all the circumstances that I needed to get to the place where God could really use me. And over time, it's so funny, my purpose is to help people unlock their power to change the world in small and large ways. And my power mantra is, I am the ripple that becomes the wave. And there was a time in my life that I thought I was the wave, that I was the one that was going to be the doing. And what God revealed to me is that I am the pebble in the pond that causes other waves. And that impact to me is so much more important. Because as you were saying, it's not just about what I do, it's about what others do, because I have the pleasure and honor through God to help them on their way. So I'm watching all of these waves from pebbles that I dropped from years ago, the work that we did with young people in the city of Cincinnati, waves, right? Every candidate I've ever worked with, waves, everybody who's ever waves. And I drop a little pebble and I can see waves. And so God moved me out of the way and said, you might not be the center at all times. You are actually going to be the person that actually plants the seed that will grow. And for me, that legacy is so much more important than anything that Yvette Simpson does. And that's where this book came from, because it was really important for me through all the things that I've been in my life. And the book opens with my I Am poem. It really does tell my story, because this book is about authenticity. It's about Yvette Simpson. Who is she? Who did she start out to be? And then who is she now? And I think the most important thing for us to do as thought leaders, as community leaders, as world shapers, is to realize that who Yvette Simpson is exactly what the world needs. And I shouldn't be ashamed of any part of my journey, because it's what made me who I am. And that was ordained by God. I couldn't have changed that if I wanted to, right? I get in the way, I slow him up, he adjusts and moves me where I need to be, right? So
I love you. Yvette,
just take me. Where are we going today?
I'd love you to read an excerpt or that poem that I am.
And so when I do work with leaders, I actually have one coming up really soon I leave time for folks to write their own I am poem. And their prompts, it's pretty long. I won't read the whole thing. I'll just read the first part. But, it's a pretty long poem. And it starts with I am. And it says, I am from zone 15, the 1-5, the real ones say it like that. The Black Mecca, the village of Lincoln Heights, Ohio. Once a Black Wall Street destroyed by hate and racism. I am from a village on a street named Love. God's way of showing me I had everything I needed. I am from Double Dutch and ice balls, caramel apples, pigtails, and girl, you better get in before the streetlights come on. Hey, that. I am from struggle and love and hurt and healing and brokenness and words unspoken and laughter to bridge the divide. I am from we eat the pig from the rooter to the tutor because we made the most of what we had. Potato salad, collard greens, chicken 5 ways, and peach cobbler. I'm from Miss Pearl's house where everyone is welcome. I am from Southpaw. No, I'm not using those right-handed scissors. So I may be the first, but I won't be the last. I am from Pastor Uncle, and you never miss church. To spending Sunday school offering on penny candy. Let's keep it real. I am from the first to graduate from college to more graduations that my father could stand. I am from getting out, moving up, and changing the world, leaving it better than I found it. That is my I am. And I write those. You have to write those in your life every season because you're building more. There's more to your story, but this is my foundation. I grew up in a community, a family. I was raised by my grandmother. We had these traditions, these ways of being. I was telling a young person there was a time, and we were doing this in our community where you would go down the street and get some sugar. If you were out of something, you would go down the street and get it. And then you would bring back some of the thing that you made with it. That was community. And to me, village is so very important. It's such an important thing, village and love. And so that's my foundation. And because of that, there was nothing that I was going to, was going to get in my way. I was going to be able to accomplish all things because God showed me right in the beginning that everything you need, you already have. We didn't have much in the way of money. Yeah. We didn't have much in the way of, opportunity. But we certainly had each other. And that was just enough to get me through. So the first part of my life was really tragic. There was a lot that happened in my life that was really tragic. And most people have heard my story. But there was hope in that space that there was something else for me to do. God always told me there's something more for you to do. And that kept me going through the tough times in my childhood. And then when I got the opportunity to go to college and to pursue my dream of being a lawyer, that was when God set me on a sail. And I thought that was going to be the end of the story. And God was like, actually, we're just getting started. And I love when that happens. So I've had all these iterations in my life, ways that God has blessed me to bless other people. They call me the queen of reinvention. We'll talk about that maybe later.
Right.
But what has happened is God has allowed me to be used in so many different ways. And when he moves me, I move.
I'm going to let Tommy jump in here in just a second, but I want to go back for just a minute to sort of let you know again where you are.
Yeah.
You said, I don't know if I'll read the whole poem because it's long.
Yeah.
And then you read that poem.
You read it flowed, right?
That was an amazing blessing to us. Oftentimes, Tommy has said to me, he's almost apologized, Eric, I know I'm talking long. And when he says that, I just get this weird look like, what? The reason why I want to say to you that poem wasn't too long and your voice is never too long because we had to spend so much time in environments that weren't always interested in what we had to say. To some extent, we almost get a little gun shy about, am I talking too much? When you are a special gift from God with a powerful message. We needed to hear every word of that poem and every word of your life. Tommy, I don't know if you want to weigh in there, and then get this right back to you.
Absolutely. As I was listening, I was thinking two things. I was reflecting on my own I am. And I was also, Yvette and Eric, we have a national and global audience. There are people watching and listening today and in the future. And I undoubtedly could hear people saying that they too have an I am.
That's right.
So your story may have been particular to your village, but other people say, I have a village too. And I thought that was very, very profound, not just the words, but the spirit behind the words. And that if you are in our community, which we are, I would like to say that to take a look at this book. I don't have it yet, but it's definitely
I got it right
on
here.
it's a done deal.
Yeah.
But that was profound. That was profound, and that's there's more that we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I would echo what Eric says, that to not miss that moment, right? That was God's speak in our spirit this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's so interesting because there was a time in my life where I was not proud of where I was from. There was a time in my life where I felt like, unfortunately, society said, okay, wait, you're from Lincoln Heights, what? I would say, oh, I went to Princeton. Oh, I wouldn't tell my story. I wouldn't tell about coming from a mentally ill mother and a drug addicted father and being raised by my grandmother and couch surfing from 16 to 18, bouncing from house to house just to find enough stability to get to college, and getting to college having $50 in my pocket. And that's all I had, and grateful that I had a scholarship to Miami University where I had we used to say, I got 3 square and a bed to sleep in. It's all on me now. And then achieving academic success there because I was given the opportunity to do well there. And everything from there, God just on blessing on blessing on blessing, because I didn't have to worry about where I was sleeping. I didn't have to worry about where I was eating. All I had to do was be a student. And I found success academically there because I was able to have that kind of support. And I had a whole family of support, both at home and, of course, at Miami, that got me through. So at every stage of my life, there's been this covering, there's been this village for me. And so I used to not tell this story because people would judge you based on that story. You're a new lawyer at a big law firm and they're like, where did you go to school? Where are you from?
Right.
You say Lincoln Heights, people are like, And then I got real wise and I realized that I am special because of who I am. I am who I am because God ordained that. That is a beautiful thing. And so when we talk about authenticity in this book, starting with that story, not starting with I'm an ABC contributor, I'm an NPR panelist, I was a politician at in a city, but starting with this ice balls, caramel apples, and that get in before the street light came on. Woo! That was a whole journey.
Right.
That whole thing, that's who I am, and really being proud of that.
Right.
And that's what I tell leaders now. Don't be ashamed of where you come from, because it's what makes you who you are.
That's right. I want to slow down. Tommy talks about the picture frame, and I constantly want to slow it down so we can help the people that are in those dashes. In our lives, we got birth and death, and then there's that dash. And you said something quickly, and we didn't really process it very much. You said I spent 16 to 18 couch surfing.
Yeah.
And so people that will read your bio, it doesn't say couch surfing from 16 to 18. And I'd like you to speak about your mindset there, because so many people in our audience are in that place, and it feels almost hopeless that you can ever get off that surfing of couches. How did you survive in the place? What were some of the thoughts that you had? And then how did you break through that to get to Miami?
So, one of the things is being grateful, right? Because I was effectually homeless, right? Like I didn't have a home, but I never spent one night on the street. I had family who would take me as long as they could, because they were also raising kids, doing the best that they could. And then sometimes you just got to move because then something happens in their life and they can't keep you anymore. I remember being grateful to have a place, but I also remember, I don't know if I talk about it in this book or in the book that I'm writing now, but I talk about getting really small, wanting to be really small, because it was one of those things where I didn't want to be trouble. I didn't want to be a problem. I wanted to not be, because then you don't want to be forced to move again. It fortified me. I went back and spoke to some students at Princeton later for one of my teachers. And he said, I tell you, Yvette came to school every day and we did not know. She showed up. We didn't know this story. Of course, nobody could know. I was moving. I was not supposed to be unhoused at that time. I didn't want to go into the system. So we didn't tell people. It was a secret. And he said, Yvette showed up every single day in this class. She did her work. We never knew. Right. And so this idea that I just wanted to get to school. I just wanted to get through it. I wanted to get, and like I said, trying not to be a bother. And it's so funny because you see me now, like I'm big, right? Like this is where I live. Okay. Normalize me is loud. I'm loud. Normalize me is taking up space. I take up space. I ain't changing. But at that time in my life, wanting to just not be a bother, wanting to be small, you know, because I wanted to have space. And I just kept telling myself, this is where that manifesting, talk about manifesting. God, get me to 18. Just get me to 18. Just get me to, if I can get there, you know, in situation after situation happening where I've got to move again, where I'm just getting secure and I got to move again. Right before graduation, oh no, I got to move again. Where am I going now? Right? I'm like, God, I'm almost here. We just got a little bit. Come on, really again.
Come on,
you
really.
know, what it created in me. You know, it also created what I call a fearlessness in me. Like we all fear. Fear is a real thing. We try to fear less.
Right.
Because God got me through that. So what else? What else you got? You know, I was able to live with very little. And for me, it makes me know what's most important, right? Like things are not important. You know, I can get by with a little less. I have survived that. And it made me stronger. It made me appreciate, you know, when I got to Miami, which, you know, is a very wealthy school. And I became a leader there and an RA there and, you know, a scholar leader there and coaching other students who had all the things material were not happy inside. No love. And I was like, God, I've been praying for more money. And Lord, I wish Oprah would adopt me. And I wish I had rich parents and this, that, and the other. And like, that's not the answer. I had more inside me than some of these students who had all the money and resources in the world. So all of that. But I think at the foundation of that just navigating through that instability, again, feeling grateful because I know stories of folks who were on the street. You know, I always had a couch to serve to. But also existing in instability as a young person and trying to just get through, show up for school, do what you got to do, get to college. It was a really important, the fortitude that I have now was certainly crafted and built up during that time in my life.
Right. And so, wait, Tommy.
You know, as I'm listening, I've learned that, you know, we as human beings, we have these internal civil wars. We're literally fighting against ourselves many times. And sometimes we have to take a pause and allow the battle to play itself out and or turn it over, in our cases, to our Lord and Savior. When throughout these times when that wind got behind your sails and started to really push you forward through transition, through trial and tribulation, what was your process then once things were working well, after knowing that in the past it would work well and then trouble, work well and then storm, work well and then failure, and then now that wind is behind your sail? What's your mindset right then?
Yeah, I used to call it poor child syndrome. I used to have this fear that when good things were happening in my life, that something bad was going to come, right? Like it can't be good forever. I had a great advisor who reminded me that that's not God's promise for me, that actually he can take me from glory to glory. He can continue and he will continue to bless me. And so that fear of, okay, I can't celebrate this big thing for fear that the bottom's going to drop out. Maturity, life experience, and wisdom, and thank goodness guidance from people who I trust, has gotten me to the place where I celebrate the win and just believe that something good is on the other side. Even more is on the other side. So I talk about how I started in the valley and it's been nothing but mountains and mountains and mountains ever since. And even when bad things happen, that closed door that I talk about in the book, I turn around and there's a window. And I just need to go through the window, right? So it's never over. So that was a really important, thank you for that question. When I love talking to y'all, because you guys are just so insightful, picking up these important points that the audience needs to know. It was such an important lesson for me to not be looking for the swing back, not to be looking for, oh God, what's coming next? Because he's shown me that he will continue to show up for me, you know, and I just got to be there waiting for him to put me in position. Or when he tells me to pushing me to position, whatever that is, I know it's going to be good. And I don't worry. I don't worry anymore. I don't worry about where my meal is coming from. I don't worry about where I'm going to lay my head anymore. And in fact, what I'm hoping to do in the work that we did, I want to continue to talk about how my experience as a young person motivated me to do the work with young people that we were able to do, that is still so important to me. Right. So I don't have that fear anymore. I'm actually motivated to use my message to make sure that some other young person can get out of the valley and go up to the mountain.
That's good, because worry saps the energy that we need to go after our purpose.
That's right.
I want you to react to the comment that Kathleen has made here. Okay. If you want to say a word or two about that. And then I'm going to ask you about that closed door as you look at deciding to write your book in the midst of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I'll read, if you don't mind, for our listening audience. Those pauses were not setbacks, but preparation for our lives. When we reflect on the pauses, we can create our own playlist of success, our personal stories of trust, truth, support, and our God. Speak to that.
Kathleen, I'm going to need you to take my seat here, honey, because that wisdom, that is real. I am here for that. There's wisdom everywhere. Listen, I do believe the pauses are preparation. Absolutely. Every single one. And the funny thing is, it's all orchestrated. One of my friends told me to talk about patience. And I believe very much in authenticity. So I said, I'm not your girl for patience. I've never been that. I know it's a virtue. I know what the word says about it, but I'm not patient. But God has used my impatience to change the world, right? Like I have friends who are very patient. I partner with people who are patient. Those are the people I say who play chess, because we always need people who can be strategic, who are moving the pieces on the board. I'm a table flipper. I come and I flip tables. I don't wait for the pieces to move, because sometimes the game just ain't set up for me.
Right.
And it's not fast enough for the world. I need the world to change. But in those moments where God naturally slows me down, I always know to pay attention, right? When he's like, all right, honey, take a beat, take a breath, right? And so I pray for aspirationally, I pray that God give me these moments to pause, these moments for preparation, this moment for peace. Okay, take a little break, right? You know, you've been going 100 miles an hour, take a little break. And I do believe that those are, in Miss Kathleen's words, it's Kathleen, preparation for future. Every single point in my life, I can look back in it and see God working this thing. I'm on TV and I'm reflecting on the fact that, like, I majored in communications. I majored in political science, and I am talking about politics on TV.
Right.
I majored in mass communication because I wanted to be Oprah. Like, I didn't have I wasn't always this wise, right? Like college kids, I wanted to be Oprah. But then God used that thing, right? He used that experience to put me in position to be able to talk to the nation and to the world.
Yvette, you talk about this. I'm sorry, Eric, and I'll throw it to you. So you're on national public radio. You're on the television. You are who you are. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of what behind the scenes things that we, the public, don't know about you or radio or television, that if we were to pull the curtain, right, we would see what it is? Again, for you, you're bombastic, right? A strong personality, wise, beautiful, all that good stuff, right? And then there's you behind the scene, right? Just like with radio, what we put out there, from the political scene on television, what's behind the scene. Talk to that a little bit.
Well, I think one of the things that folks don't know, I think the best stuff happens before we go on the air. I wish they had a show called The Green Room and just talked about the conversations that we have before we go out, right? Like, I feel like the good stuff is always there, right? Because you only have this much time to talk about something that is this big, and you're sharing that time, right? I can tell you what you see on TV, though, is exactly who we are. There is no script. There is no acting. I don't know when I'm on camera. So when you see this face, that's actually how I'm looking. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, "Why?" Like, that's my reaction to what is going on. I do think that I make sure that I prepare. I always know the topic. I'll do the work. So it's very important, but I always know the topic. But for me, I'll tell you a story to reflect this. So a lot of the people, I'm the only thousandaire on the panel. So I'm the only one that's like not a multimillionaire, not somebody who's out here, and so my life is very different from George And they all are in similar networks. And I'm a little Black girl from Cincinnati here talking to the nation, right? So I know that that's the voice that I have, and I know that's important. So I get off the air. We had just had a big moment. It was that big viral moment right after the election that we got all those views on. And I was just reflecting on the fact that, like, we need to take care of real people, especially during the pandemic. Like, we need to take care of real people. I get off the set, and the camera people and the people who are preparing the food and the crew, they come up and they say, "You speak for me. My father watches you, and he loves every word you say. Thank you for being our voice." That, to me, thank you for being our voice, right? So, like, maybe the rest of the panel says, "What is this Yvette talking about? She'll know what she's talking about." And then, but real people, everywhere I go around the nation, when people stop me, thank you for telling the truth. Thank you for speaking it in a way that I can understand. Thank you for telling us what we need to know and becoming the voice of real people in an area that is really elusive. People don't understand politics, the way it moves, the way it. So I feel honored that when I sat on that table, I got to be the person who was reflecting to the people what they need to know about what's happening in the world. It's a scary thing. People don't understand it. And to speak truth to power to people who are used to not being spoken to like that. And knowing that not only that's what I'm here for, I'm going to be that no matter what. And guess what? There is no consequence for that. Like, the truth is the truth, and that's what I'm here for. So I love that. It's an amazing, I'm still doing it. I don't know what I'm speaking in the past. I think we're getting ready for the next big panel going into the presidential. But when I started in this work and when we got into this work, it really is about that. That was the foundation of the work, is being a voice for real people. And so for me, off the set, there's a lot of preparation to get there. But when we get there, we are who we are. We just have a lot of those conversations about the details of the mechanics of politics off the screen, right? Yes. So we might be chatting about, "Oh, your candidate over here acting crazy. What's going on?" Like, "Oh, you need to get your person together." Like, we having real conversations about how messed up all of this stuff is. And we can just do that. And then we can get on TV and explain to people what's really happening. So,
Yvette, I was going to ask another question, but I'm going to come down this political lane for just a second. And Tommy and I will actually try to have you back to even talk about this.
Oh, yeah, time. We are running.
Yeah, because I'd like to get your perspective on how did we get here, and why are we where we are? And I preface it with that to say, how is it that former President Trump can be doing so well politically right now after 4 indictments, and not just so well with the MAGA crowd, as people like to sort of report, but he actually is even getting increased support from the rapper community and from brothers on the streets, who oftentimes look at him as countercultural and one who's almost like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing. And I see him as possibly one of the most dangerous people that we've ever had. We will survive anything. But then how is it that Joe Biden can be so weak, having done such a good job in rallying the economy to be maybe one of the strongest economies that we've had, trying to fend off inflation and all the legislation that he's passed. And he's been a sort of in the middle kind of guy, no scandals, all like that, but he's fighting for his life against President Trump. What kind of world are we living in that is our case?
We need a whole show on that.
Yeah.
But I think we have to think about the word power and what power is. People don't respond to impact. What did you do? What's your list of accounts? They respond to energy.
Right.
And what Donald Trump has introduced is this energy that I can do what I want. I am a strong leader. I can, I can't be stopped. I can't be held down. I can't be held accountable.
No rules apply.
There's a part of our country that responds to that energy.
Right.
Now, Joe Biden is a kind man. He's an empathetic man. He is a strong leader, as you said, his accomplishments, but his energy is not powerful. People don't respond. Yeah.
Sleepy Joe sticks.
It's this energy, right? Yeah, right? Obama had a long list of accomplishments, but what people talk about is his energy, his swag, right? He walks in a room, he's smart,
Right.
He's intentional. He knows what he's talking about. He owns the room. He's got that swag factor, right? And you remember when he was president, he and Joe would do those little running down with the dog.
Right.
I think what the party needs to do is remember that people are not doing this. They're not thinking about what is happening in their world and the policies, and they are responding to an energy. The more Trump wins, the more he gets away with, the less he's held accountable, the stronger he becomes. And there are people in our culture who, because we have been oppressed, respond to an energy of power. Oh man, he can do anything. I like that energy. They like the energy. And I think we have to understand that that's just human nature. And we have to respond to the human nature, not cerebrally, but emotionally.
That's right.
We need a more strong and powerful persona, I would say.
Please share my answer to this dumb question that they keep asking. They keep asking, why are none of the Republicans trying to take Trump down? I can't believe it. If they're running, well, you've missed the mark. He has the whole electorate, number one. Number two, most of them are running for vice president. They're running for vice president. They're not running for president. They're only running for president if he somehow can't serve. So ask the question, like, what are they doing? We all know what they're doing. He took all of their voters and they don't have a party anymore. It is Trump's party. But I like what Chris Christie is doing. I mean, and there's some people that just coming hard, because he knows that that's a lane and we need his voice desperately.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that Trump motivates by is fear, right? Like, and this is a party that is consumed with the love of power. They want to keep it. They want to wield it. And they also are fearful. They're fearful of the monster they're created. They are fearful of his influence over their people, and they are willing to do anything to keep that power. So if they have to bow down, if they have to, get in line, Christie used to say all the time, it's so funny that now he's on the other side because, he supported Trump. He used to say, Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. And it's because of the fact that they understand power and they're willing to do anything, even sacrifice their dignity in order, and honesty and truth and integrity in order to keep power. Right. It all comes down to power.
It's in fear. We will absolutely have to have you back to have this conversation.
Talk about the book at all.
Right. Yeah. And
it's gonna happen. One, because I just love y'all both so much. And two, we got a lot to talk about. The world is crazy right now.
The world is crazy. We need
one of the last books that I write. Okay. There will be a political book. I got to get out of it before I can talk about it.
Yeah. And some of us, we may need some adult beverage, maybe some wine, right? Maybe some wine. So we'll have a nice book by Yvette Simpson.
You can have a glass of my wine too.
Come on now. Come on. Let's talk about that. Let's continue to talk about the book. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about you. Again, thank you. This is Diversity Conversations. It can go any way.
I've got a quote that I'd like to start with, Yvette. You say, purpose when anchored in authenticity and intention leads to fulfillment, which is the antidote to the imbalance we feel within ourselves and the imbalance that so prominently exists in the world right now. Talk about that, and then you can take any chapter title. I just wrote down a bunch of them that you'd like to sort of lean in on in order to help our community understand the power of this book you've written.
This book is packed full of stuff. So I tell people it's a small book, but you got to take your time with it because you got to read it again and then go back. I put a lot in it. It's one of 5 books that I'm going to write. I'll go into some deeper stuff in each book. But this idea of imbalance in the world is the anchor for this book, right? The idea that we lack nothing, that we always are in search of more. We have everything we need. We just need people in position. And the world is out of balance because people are not true to themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't know God's gift for them. They don't know where they're supposed to be. And so we are naturally out of balance. The only way to get back into balance is for us to be our most authentic self, doing the thing that we are supposed to do in the world at any given time. Then we are personally fulfilled and the world has everything it needs, right? So it's anchored in the Robert Thurman quote, which I'm sure you guys have heard, don't ask what the world needs. go do the thing that makes you ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do that, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. And
Right.
it's this idea that when we're doing the thing that we're built to do, have you guys
right.
ever been in the zone where you're like doing the thing and you can float, like you just feel like you're flying?
Right.
That piece is what the world needs, and it fills the gap for what the world needs at that moment. When we're off doing something else because we're motivated by something else, either because we don't know or love ourselves, or because we're distracted by, I need to make money. We're distracted by, hey, I got this thing over here that I want to chase, rather than being in position, doing the thing that we're supposed to do. Not only does it hurt you because you're not in the zone, you're not feeling this fulfillment, but the world is lacking you.
Come on.
So the root of that is the world needs you as you, doing the thing that only you can do. Right. Isn't that a beautiful thing to know that you can wake up every day and just be you? And that's exactly what the world needs. Not two Beyoncés,
right?
Not two Obamas,
right?
But Yvette Simpson. So if I try to be something else, then the world's missing me.
Right.
If Tommy tries to be something else, the world's missing Tommy. If Eric, we need Eric is Eric, Yvette is Yvette, Tommy is Tommy, doing the thing that only we can do.
Right.
That brings us joy, because our purpose we have alignment here, here, and here. Then guess what? We don't lack anything. We have everything we need. And then the world is in balance. Right. We got too many people chasing, doing the wrong things, and also not living a life that is authentic and joyful and purposeful for them.
Right. This is the fundamental definition of self-love.
That
what I just heard. Oftentimes we project our happiness, our sense of self in something existential or exterior to us. Right. Is what other people are doing, what they have achieved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What you just said is that if we are who we are, based on how God has designed us, because he has, then we can fulfill our own destiny that's created for us.
Right.
That is profound. As you were talking, I remember an instance, or several times, when I was given a speech. This is more or less in college. I was given a speech or a presentation, and at the end of the presentation, maybe 15, 20 minutes, a group of folks come up to me and say, that was fantastic. I haven't heard anything like it, etc. And Yvette and Eric, I could not remember a single word that I said. Literally.
Oh, right.
I was just up there talking, right? And when in that zone, when I walked away, got the praise, and I was saying, thank you, I asked God, what was that? What was that?
You stepped back.
I stepped back. Right. And he said to me, I used you. Be you. I used you. I could not remember a single word. It was just flowing. As Yvette talked about, just imagine flowing every day. So when the flow of the water gets to some turbulence, you just go through it.
Yeah.
And then come out on the end. It's you bump up against the shore on the left side, you bump up on the right side, but you stay in the stream, in the flow. That is a blessing in and of itself. We have to recognize that I'm in the flow, right? And not try to look up at people on the shore doing what they're doing in the cars. No, that's exterior. Stay in the flow. Your words, profound.
Now imagine what the world would be like if every single one of us were operating in that space where we're supposed to be every single day. Right. Imagine what world we would have if we were all operating on purpose as ourselves in the place we're supposed to. That's what I mean when I say we lack nothing. We just need people in position. We have everything we need. Right. If you think about all the things that we need, there is somebody who is destined and designed to fill that need. And when they get in the place where they're supposed to be, in that zone, then the world's in balance. Right. But we're feeling this imbalance because I'm over here trying to be Beyonce.
Right.
That ain't me. Right. I can't dance like that. Ain't even my joy. I just want to go pursue that because that looks real good. So now I'm chasing something that's not me. So I'm not happy. Right. I'm also not in my zone. And also the world doesn't need two Beyoncés.
Right.
Like, let Beyonce be her. Right. So I think what we need to do is really, and then part of that is that self-love, what you were talking about. Realizing that who I am is exactly what the world needs. I'll divert real quick. I know we got to go. But I was just in a session in Chicago with these amazing young leaders. And we do this affirmation practice. I have it in the book too, where we ask people to say true things about themselves, not aspiration, affirmation, what is true about yourself right now, and to recite that. And so we start with, I am worthy. I am enough. I had leaders who could not say that they were worthy or enough. Like, this is how out of balance we are. There are people who cannot say, I am worthy. I am enough as I am. Can't say, I love myself as I am. I mean, we talk about imbalance. And we can't get people who are out here changing the world, doing work, to say, I am worthy, to believe that they are worthy to take up space in this, on this planet. We got this work that we've got to do, right? To get people to realize you are worthy. You are enough just by who you are. Right. And you being you is exactly what the world needs. So be the best you. Be you all the way. And so I know we've got a lot of work to do when people just can't say, they don't believe they're worthy. They don't believe they're worthy of love, of space. They don't believe they're enough. And for me, that work is the first work. And then you can be in the zone, right? Because you're like, I love myself as myself. I know I have value. I know I have worth. I know that God has me here for a reason. And then I can go and do the thing, right?
Right. Yeah. So I want you to respond to this. When affirmative action got overturned, my first reaction was, I knew that was going to happen. So I wasn't surprised. My first reaction was a little bit of sadness that we would start to put in law what hasn't been lived out in life. But I wrote a post on social media that says, affirmative action is overturned, now what? And then I came up with this, I always come up, because the three of us think a lot alike. I came up with this campaign, We the People campaign. And I encourage my audience to call up 2 or 3 people and say, how can I help you achieve what God has created you to do? Because my belief is that we put too much importance and we have too high expectation of what politicians, the government, the Supreme Court are going to do. They actually cannot do the work that we need to do. And I believe that we're still in store for more pain, for us to finally wake up and realize how powerful we are together if we were only willing to leverage our collective influence to make a difference. And so I'm making the declaration right here, right now, that the 3 of us are going to be a part of bringing together that campaign that needs to go across the country, not just of people of color, but of all people of goodwill that want to make a positive difference. That's what we need to be doubling and tripling down on. Talk about how your book aligns with even that, because that's all I saw in everything I read.
Well, the reality is that we're, and I don't know if we talk about it as much in this book. Like I said, I got a few that I'm trying to manifest here. Lord, give me the discipline to write every day.
Same here.
I talk a lot about the pendulum, right? We talk about the long arc. So, Martin Luther King said the moral arc of the universe is long. It bends towards justice. And the reality is that we bend it. It doesn't just, it bends because we bend it. And in the midst of that, we bend it, right? Like, and it is long, but I told you I'm impatient. I want it to be not so long. He says, how long, not long. I say, how long, too long. Let's go. But we bend it. But I think the world is made up of these pendulum swings, right? Like, we've been fighting for justice. And there's this whole orchestrated attempt to try to push us back, right? And guess what's going to happen? What happens when a pendulum swings back?
Oh, we throw it back with more energy the other way.
And so the way that this arc bends is, that we've had some setbacks, but it's doing this. We're moving forward. Every single time they swing back, we come back with triple the forward force.
You've moments
like this are the moments where we need everybody in position, doing the thing that they are supposed to do. The power has always been in the people. Always. We're a representative government. They represent us, but it is on us to make sure that we do the work. We have always had a multi-front strategy in the court system, on the street, in the halls of power, in schools. All this work has to happen together. And guess what? We're at this fulcrum point. We're at this point where we're like, are we going to keep going back, or are we going to push this thing forward? And I think those are moments where we get to see what we're made of. Like we're made for this. We come from people who boarded ships, came to survive that.
That's right.
Slavery.
Come on now.
Jim Crow. The new Jim Crow. We're built for this.
That's right.
When people tell me we can't do it, I'm sorry.
Right.
My ancestors say,
right,
differently. I'm from Central African Republic. So my folks marched from the center of Africa. We're marched to Ghana, made it on the boat, got here, survived slavery. And I am here because of that. I'm made of that. And so we have to remind ourselves of who we are. And in this moment, be in position with our gifts, each and every one of us, bending that arc together. That's exactly what we need, right? That's exactly what, and this is that moment. And here's what I love. Again, the promise. Y'all can go ahead and try to pull it back as much. I almost think it's kind of like a bow and arrow. Pull it, we're going all the way out. We're going all the way out. So I agree with you. It's in moments like this where us being in position, doing the thing that we're supposed to do is even more important, right? That balance, getting back in balance is so very, very important. Sorry, I was preaching there for a minute.
No. That was
that was preaching there for a second. Sorry.
Goosebumps, kind of power. It was inspirational. Tears are in my eyes right now of hope. And I'll say that, then I'll kick it to Tommy, and then you'll close us out.
Okay.
That I'm just thankful for the energy that God and the wisdom that God has placed inside of you. It moves mountains. It moves situations, it moves people, and it gives us hope. And we are grateful that God has given us the answers right inside of our own community. And so there is something then to be hopeful for. As we see these Black women take on the most powerful man now in our country, it is inspirational to see what the judge is doing in DC. She's saying, okay, I got something for you. If you think that you can taint the jury pool and intimidate people, just keep doing it. And I'll accelerate the speed at which we get this thing to trial. I love that. That puts some energy behind her words that says you can't just keep saying what you want to say. That's what this sister has done in Atlanta is powerful. And it shows us that we're not just sidelined on just watching things happen to us. We are participants, and I'm grateful that God has given you this book as a gift to our community and beyond, that we have a purpose. And as we work to fulfill that, we make life for us and others better. Tommy?
The Egyptians would call God the happening. That was before he was Amun-Ra and all that good stuff. He was the happening. It was the unexplained phenomenons of our lived experience. I'm sitting here, what is happening?
Right.
And this daggone show today, Yvette Simpson is the vessel of God.
Absolutely.
She is her purpose. Her I am is really happening. Folks will have to go back and listen to this show.
That's exactly right.
Because we were blessed by the happening in the lived carnate spirit of Yvette Simpson. Don't sleep on this show. Don't sleep on this show. And so I would like to say thank you. I would like to thank my friend Yvette Simpson from the 1-5 to the world, to me selfishly. Thank you.
And before I kick it to you to close, Yvette.
Thank you. I need a bit of
my wife and I just watched the movie Surrounded. If y'all haven't seen that, watch that. And the sister that from Wakanda, the young sister from Wakanda was one there, and she was just gangster in that movie. And I was so moved by that. And I told my wife, I said, when I saw that, I said, it just spoke to me of Black women power. And I said, and then my wife saw it slightly differently. She saw the fight that she had to have to justify her every move and every thought. And I know that that's what women of color are facing in this world. And sometimes the attackers are not just on the outside. Sometimes you catch friendly fire from other folks, other men sometimes that are still struggling with sexism and things like that. I want to thank you that in a world where you've been surrounded, that you have enough power to make the difference in spite of that. And so with that, I give it to you, Yvette, to close us out with your final word about your purpose and this gift of a book that you've written for us.
I'm just so grateful. I'm overcome. Like, even as I've experienced it, hearing what Tommy said, hearing what you said, that God might, I'm a little black girl from Lincoln Heights, and God saw fit to use me as one person. We're all doing our work to change the world. And you're right about Black women. I mean, I think about Tish James. I think about Fannie Willis. I think about Alvin Bragg as a brother who was bringing charges.
Yes.
You think about all of the folks and what it takes for them to get in position, them operating in the place that they're supposed to operate at the time that they're supposed to operate to change the world.
That's right.
In position.
Right.
And what it takes to get there. Them as the people who were built for this. In this moment, and what we have to do to support them in this moment as we can, doing the part that we can do. It takes all of us in position. I'm so grateful, right? That they could have said, no, this is too hard. They don't get paid nothing. It's not about the money for them, right? And they've got to go against the tide when other people will not. And they're carrying it home, sacrificing so much, but they know that this is their moment. They know that this is what they were built for. This is their legacy.
And they've done their work.
All the people watching,
they've done their work.
Yes, they're doing their work in this moment. And so what I would say to folks, first of all, please get the book. I wrote this because I want people to have it. I really do believe that it will bring peace to people and fulfillment to people, and also correct this imbalance that we talked about. Please do. And also know that who you are in this moment is exactly who you're supposed to be, and that the world needs you in position doing the thing that only you can do. And once you do that, then we will be in balance. Go about the work of being your best self so that the world has what it needs. And that would be my last word, because once we do that, and guess what? I need you to be in position because my destiny probably connects with you. So if you're not standing on the X, then you're not going to be there to meet me so I can get what I need to go do the thing that I need to do. So we all need to just be in position. And if we do that, then we will feel fulfilled in that zone floating, and the world will have what it needs. And so please, and thank you both. This has been, oh my God, I'm overcome. I need a minute. Just talking with, I knew it was going to be this. I love y'all both so much. You're just so amazing thought leaders, community leaders, beautiful humans, God-given to me as friends. I'm so glad to know you and to be in community with you. And thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk to your audience. And that's all I have. That's all I have.
And what I'll try to do, Yvette, is send you a copy of this as well, so you can carve up pieces and put it on your social media and places so that people can hear your passion and your story. Tommy, I love you, my brother. I really do love you, man. Yvette, we cry a lot on this show.
Y'all should have prepared me for that. I was not ready to go there.
Because we're thankful that God has given us a platform that we're unapologetic about. We can be our true selves. We bring our authentic selves every week to this show, and to serve this community. And to those that are in our community today, thank you for coming back and investing your time with us. And we want to tell you to go out this week and have another week of great diversity conversations. And we'll see you next week at the same time. Thank you all.
Take care.
Bye now.